I've suffered horrifically every moment. It is nearly impossible to put into words the agony of this legal process.
102 miles per hour down a crowded Tampa street. That's how fast 18-year-old Cameron Herron was going when his Mustang slammed into Jessica Raubenold and her 21-month-old daughter Lilia, killing them both instantly. No brake marks, no hesitation, just 2 lives erased in a split second. Cameron showed zero remorse in court, but here's the twist that'll make your blood boil. Millions of people online demanded his freedom anyway, not because of new evidence or innocence, but because he looked attractive in his mugshot.
You're too cute. I fell in love with a criminal.
On social media.
Several outlets reporting that a number of people talk about his eyes, calling him too cute.
The hashtag Justice for Cameron Herron.
Then the judge stood up and delivered a sentence that crushed him. Before we proceed, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss how this all plays out. May 23, 2018. Bayshore Boulevard in Tampa, Florida. 4.5 miles of waterfront paradise where families jog, couples stroll, and kids ride bikes along what's considered the longest continuous sidewalk in the world. Sunshine, palm trees, the kind of afternoon where nothing bad is supposed to happen. Jessica Raubenold was walking that same sidewalk, pushing her 21-month-old daughter Lilia in a stroller. She was 24 years old, visiting from Ohio with her husband David, staying at her uncle's place. Just a mum enjoying a beautiful day with her baby girl, completely unaware that 2 teenagers had turned that same road into their personal racetrack. Cameron Herron and his buddy John Barrineau, 17, were flying down Bayshore Boulevard side by side, engines roaring, adrenaline pumping. The speed limit? 40 miles per hour. Cameron's Mustang GT, doing 102. More than twice the legal limit on a road packed with pedestrians, cyclists, and families. He wasn't just speeding, he was in full-blown street racing mode, treating a public boulevard like it was fast and furious. Then it happened. Cameron's Mustang collided with Jessica and Lilia. The force was catastrophic. Jessica died right there on the pavement, her body broken from the impact. Little Lilia, still strapped in her stroller, was rushed to Tampa General Hospital. She fought hard for 1 full day before she gave out on May 25th. Just like that, a husband lost his wife and daughter in less than 48 hours. David Raubenold was stuck in traffic on Bayshore Boulevard when it all went down. He'd just called Jessica minutes earlier, telling her he was grabbing food and would meet her at the house. When he got home and they weren't there, he took a side street to avoid the congestion and walked straight into the crime scene. That's how he found out his entire world had just ended. Cops pulled the data from Cameron's Mustang, and the black box told the whole story. 102 miles per hour. 5 seconds before impact, he slammed the brakes. 5 seconds too late. But here's what made it even worse. Investigators dug deeper and found that just days before this crash, Cameron had pushed that same Mustang up to 162 miles per hour on Interstate 75. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a pattern. Both Cameron and John stayed at the scene after the collision. Police arrested them on the spot. The keys to Cameron's Mustang were still in his front pocket when they cuffed him. 2 kids who thought they were invincible, now standing in the middle of a double homicide they caused. But here's where it gets twisted. John Barrineau saw the writing on the wall and took a plea deal. 6 years in state prison, 15 years probation, and he'd walk away while still young enough to rebuild his life. Smart move. Cameron Herron? He rolled the dice. His legal team turned down every plea offer the state put on the table, calling them insufficient. Instead, Cameron entered what's called an open plea, basically admitting guilt but leaving his fate entirely in the hands of Judge Christopher Nash. No deal, no guarantees, just hoping the judge would show mercy. His defense leaned hard on his age. Cameron was 18, technically an adult, but his attorney John Fitzgibbons brought in a forensic psychiatrist, Dr. Michael Scott Maher, who explained that an 18-year-old's brain isn't fully developed yet. The frontal lobe, the part that controls decision-making and consequences, doesn't finish growing until the mid-20s. Cameron's family took the stand too. His mother, Cheryl Herron, described her son as caring, forgiving, a good kid who made one catastrophic mistake. The impact plays over and over in his head. It'll never go away, she said, voice cracking. But the state had a different story to tell. Assistant State Attorney Aaron Hubbard laid it out clean. Cameron was 18, legally an adult under Florida law. His vehicle became the murder weapon. His foot on that accelerator made the choice that killed 2 people. Age doesn't erase responsibility. Recklessness doesn't excuse death. The courtroom went silent when David Robinault stood up to speak. For 45 minutes straight, he addressed the court, often turning to look directly at Cameron. His words cut deep. "It is critical for you to understand that you've created everlasting pain and depths of sorrow," he said. He described walking into the morgue to identify Jessica's body, seeing the injuries Cameron's Mustang had caused. "I can't explain to you the effort and courage it takes to walk into that morgue and see what you did to her." He talked about holding Lilia as she took her last breath in the hospital. He looked Cameron in the eye and said, "You took everything from me." He begged Judge Nash to hand down the maximum sentence, 30 years. But here's what everyone in that courtroom noticed. Cameron sat there, stone-faced. No tears rolling down his cheeks. No breakdown. No visible emotion at all. Just blank. That hollow expression didn't go unnoticed by the judge. April 8, 2021. Judge Christopher Nash delivered his decision. He acknowledged Cameron's age. He acknowledged the clean record. He even acknowledged that youthful offender status was an option. But he made it clear, the harm done here eclipsed everything else. There's really nothing that the court can do that's capable of fixing the harm that has been caused to the victims in this case, Nash said. The defense wanted less than 18 years. The state wanted 30. Judge Nash found his number. 9 years for Jessica's death. 15 years for Lilia's. Consecutive, not concurrent. 24 years total in the Florida Department of Corrections. No parole, no early release. Cameron Herron wouldn't see freedom until he was 42 years old. The courtroom exploded. David Robinault broke down, finally releasing years of grief. Cameron's family sobbed. Cameron himself, still nothing. He was led out in handcuffs, expression blank as ever. If you believe justice matters, hit subscribe. If not, tell me why in the comments. That should have been the ending. But the internet lost its mind. Months after the sentencing, Cameron Herron's mugshot started making rounds on TikTok and Instagram. At first, it was just a few posts here and there. Then it exploded. Suddenly, millions of people who had never set foot in that Tampa courtroom, never heard David Robinault's testimony, never cared about Jessica or Lilia, decided Cameron deserved freedom, not because of new evidence, not because he was innocent, but because he looked good in a photo. Hashtags flooded social media. Hashtag Free Cameron. Hashtag Justice for Cameron. Fan accounts popped up overnight, posting edited photos of Cameron with heart emojis and sad music playing over clips of him in court. Videos racked up tens of millions of views. Comment sections filled with the same arguments over and over. He's too pretty for prison. He looks innocent. Everyone deserves a second chance. 24 years is way too harsh for someone that young and attractive. Wait, back up. Did you catch that? Young and attractive, as if how someone photographs should determine their sentence. Legal experts stood baffled. Victim advocates fought back with fury. This wasn't justice. This was a beauty contest with a convicted killer as the contestant. David Robinault released a statement that cut through all the noise. This online circus disrespects his wife and daughter's memory. He said, "Believe it or not, we do feel something for the defendant. But this won't bring my wife back." Psychologists started analyzing the phenomenon. They pointed to something called the halo effect, a mental shortcut where attractive people get judged less harshly because our brains associate good looks with good character. Others blamed true crime romanticism, the dangerous cultural obsession with turning killers into heartthrobs based on nothing but aesthetics. But here's the brutal truth nobody wanted to say out loud. If Cameron Herron didn't fit conventional beauty standards, this movement wouldn't exist. If his mugshot looked different, if his features weren't symmetrical, if he didn't photograph well, there'd be silence. 0 hashtags, 0 fan accounts, 0 million-view TikToks. That double standard is disgusting. Attractiveness got weaponized as if it's a legitimate legal defense. It sent a message to the world. Look good enough, and you deserve mercy. Look ordinary, and you get what's coming. Meanwhile, Cameron's legal team kept filing appeals. Ineffective counsel, excessive sentencing, procedural errors. Every single one got denied. They tried again. Denied. In 2023, the Florida 2nd District Court of Appeal reviewed the entire case and upheld every year of that 24-year sentence. No reduction, no relief. The law held firm. All the TikTok thirst in the world couldn't rewrite reality. Cameron Herron killed 2 people. He got convicted, he got sentenced. And despite millions of people online screaming for his freedom based on a mugshot, the courts didn't blink. Because the law doesn't care how you photograph. It cares what you did. So where does everyone stand today? Right now, Cameron Herron sits in Graceville Correctional Facility in Jackson County, Florida. Inmate number on file, 24 years ahead of him. No followers, no likes, no viral fame. Just concrete walls and a calendar that says his earliest possible release is 2042. He'll be 42 years old, middle-aged, graying, unrecognizable from the 18-year-old who thought he owned the road. John Barrineau already served his 6 years. He's out now, living quietly, staying under the radar, rebuilding his life away from the cameras. David Raubanault turned his grief into action. He advocates for stricter street racing laws across Florida, testifies before lawmakers, speaks at victim impact panels. Every week, he visits 2 graves in Ohio, Jessica and Lilia side by side. Jessica would have been 49 years old today. They're in a cemetery because Cameron Herron chose speed over humanity. Bayshore Boulevard installed new speed cameras and memorial markers at the crash site. But on any given night, you can still hear it. Engines roaring, tires squealing, young drivers who think they're bulletproof, treating the road like a playground. So let's ask the uncomfortable question. What does justice actually look like? Cameron didn't wake up planning to kill anyone. He wasn't drunk. He wasn't high. He was just an arrogant kid who believed rules didn't apply to him. But here's the thing. Intent doesn't bring people back from the dead. Recklessness doesn't undo tragedy. Vehicular homicide exists for exactly these moments when negligence and ego collide into death. His sentence wasn't cruelty. It was consequence arriving exactly when it should. Sentencing isn't just about making the guilty suffer, it's about deterrence. It's about sending a message that echoes beyond one courtroom, one case, one family. Judge Nash's message was crystal clear. Street racing destroys lives, and if you destroy lives, you will answer for it. Cameron Herron isn't unique. He's not the first teenager to kill someone racing through city streets, and he won't be the last. But his case exposed something ugly about our culture. We're more drawn to narratives than truth, more captivated by aesthetics than accountability. For millions scrolling their feeds, this became entirely about Cameron's face, not about Jessica and Lilia's deaths. But the real story? David Raubanault visiting 2 graves every single week. A nursery frozen exactly as it was, toys collecting dust, a family destroyed beyond repair. That's what lives on long after the viral memes fade. The lesson here is brutally simple. Speed kills, arrogance kills, and no amount of good looks or social media sympathy brings back the dead. The law doesn't care how you photograph. It cares what you chose. And consequences arrive exactly when they should. So what's your take? Was 24 years the right call? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, but remember, this isn't about popularity. If this case hit you, smash that like button and subscribe. Because stories like this are warnings for every driver out there who thinks they're untouchable, right up until they're not. Click the video on your screen to see another case where a defendant thought they'd walk free, until the courtroom delivered a reality check they'll never forget.